Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to those of you in the cheap seats here. And welcome to those of you who live in what look like mansions to me. I don't know what Ben was talking about buying a house earlier. It looks like some of us brought our houses with us. It's a great honor to speak to you today, and I'd like to ask us to turn to 1 Corinthians 15. That's where we'll be. Chris was there earlier. And we're going to be there shortly as well. 1 Corinthians 15. We're creating a buzz in this place in more ways than one. Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, I've got a tale to tell you about shopping. You like shopping?
Yes.
Depends, doesn't it? It rather depends on what one is achieving or hoping to achieve. The title of my lesson is The Sting. The Sting. Not the film of the same name. The Sting. Now, we went shopping the other day. Well, we went shopping on the internet. That's how you go shopping these days, isn't it? We went shopping on the internet because we needed to buy a ladder. I've never bought a ladder before. We used to have an old ladder, but it fell apart, so we burnt it, actually. And but we needed to buy a new ladder, so we shopped on the internet, and we found an enormous ladder, a tripod ladder. It arrived on Monday. We couldn't resist wanting to play with it. You know when you buy something, you want to use it straight away. So my wife and I, we unwrapped the ladder. It's a big 16-foot tall tripod ladder. We put it up against, not quite a tree as tall as that, but against some leylandii at the bottom of our garden. The reason we bought the ladder was because we needed to trim the leylandii. Leylandii are supposed to be a shrub, but these have become big tall trees, and they needed trimming at the top. So I went up the ladder. Of course, being a brave man, I don't mind being high above the ground. I'm up the ladder. I'm up the ladder trimming the leylandii. I have with me my loppers. I love these loppers. You can extend them. Look at that. Wow, extendable loppers. So I'm at the top of the ladder, 16 feet high. I'm now on the top rung, so I suppose I'm about 20, 22 feet above ground level. I have my loppers. I'm lopping off bits of the leylandii. I'm having a good time. The sun is shining. And then just between a couple of the branches, I noticed something that looked grey and a bit papery, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. It looked a bit like one of those Chinese lanterns. So I took my extendable loppers and I reached as far as I could and I poked it. As I poked it, it felt a bit like paper, as I thought, thin paper. But then as I looked at it again, I thought it looks a little bit like a wasp's nest. You're at the top of a 16-foot ladder. You've got a pair of extendable loppers. You've got what looks like a wasp's nest in front of you. What would you normally do?
As quick as possible.
If you had any sense, you would descend the ladder. What did I do? I took my extendable loppers and I poked it again. You can imagine and expect what then occurred. A swarm of wasps flew out of the hole that I had created straight at my head. They struck my forehead. They landed on my head and they began to freely sting me. I scrambled down the ladder as quickly as I could. My wife, Penny, was at the bottom of the ladder, holding it, steadying it, of course, as one should. And she said, quick, run indoors. You know, if you know my wife, she's a GP, so I was looking for some doctor help right here. We ran into the house. She said, quick, run into the shower. I ran into the shower, threw my clothes off, and she got the cold shower, and we put cold water on the top of my head as it was now burning with fire. My head felt like someone had put petrol on and lit the flame. I put cold water all over my head. Then I came out from the shower, thank you very much, and she got some antihistamine cream. And we started slathering it all over my hair. And so my hair was coming out. I haven't got a lot of it, as you can see, but it was coming out in bits all over like this and sticking up. And I just rubbed it in and rubbed it in, and it was still on fire. So my wife ran to the freezer. And she got some ice, and she put it in a kind of a pack, and she put the ice pack on my head. And now, there I am with water dripping off me, antihistamine cream all over the place, an ice pack, and I'm still on fire. I've never had such pain on my head in my life. And there is a photo on Facebook to prove it, in case some of you may have seen that. Oh my goodness. I was, at this point, feeling very sorry for myself, despite the fact that it was all my own fault. I think men are quite good at that. I wondered how I was going to sleep that night. I could not get to sleep. So I had a drowsy-inducing antihistamine. I took some cocodamol. I took a sleeping tablet. And to top it off, I had a pint of my home brew. And with that ideal combination, I actually managed to sleep that night. It's still quite sore, I have to tell you, up here. I found a way to cope, but that wasn't really a solution, was it? The solution would have been to not poke the wasp's nest in the first place. Now, my friends, it's a funny story. Well, it wasn't funny at the time, but telling you the story now is a funny story. But on reflection, don't we get stung in life a lot? Yeah. Don't things come out of unexpected corners and sting us and cause us significant pain in our lives? And sometimes these things happen repeatedly, and they're caused by our own folly. Much of the sin, some of the pain in our lives is just circumstantial. It's life. But frankly, at least in my own life, much of the pain in my life is self-inflicted, and repeatedly self-inflicted. I don't seem to learn the lessons. We need to learn these lessons, because the things that I often cause pain in my life, my own fault, are things that affect my soul. They affect my spirit. They affect who I am. It's not just stuff that happens. It affects who I am. It creates a different person. And we need something. I need something in my life that will help me with these things. Much of the pain in our lives is caused by our own narcissism, by our own fears, by our own insecurity. And these deep things they are the root cause of the symptoms that come out in substance abuse, of over drinking, of not being able to give up smoking and other things that are causing us deep, significant pain. These are the things that cause our fits of rage and our uncontrolled anger that destroys and damages our closest relationships, the things that break up marriages or cause barriers between fathers and sons and daughters and mothers and siblings and the people that we love most. These are the things that cause the symptoms of materialism, of greed, of overspending, of overstretching ourselves just to buy something because it makes us feel better, instead of actually doing something better for us. And these are the things that cause the symptoms of where we go from one relationship to another, looking for comfort and meaning and significance and identity, but looking for it in the wrong place of just for the sexual fulfillment that is great within marriage, but really does not fulfill us outside of that. These things, these stings add up. They add up until, like the fire on my head, they cause a fire in the soul. And we wander through the rest of life burdened and on fire and in agony over the fact that we can't find a way to solve, to heal, to cure the pain that's in our spirit. What do we do when we're stung by these things? Now, we find some help in this world from doctors. We find some help from counselors. We find some help from our friends. But there are some things that even they cannot cure. They are limited. We need a deeper change. And how do we find that deeper change? I believe we find it in coming to know Jesus Christ. because he has the healing for us that nothing else can provide. In 1 Corinthians 15, towards the end of the chapter, Chris brought us the purpose of the meaning of the cross from the beginning of the chapter, but here towards the end of the chapter, it says this in verse 56. It says, the sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, he gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. I don't have the time and the opportunity, and you're probably the hunger in your stomachs would not allow me the time to be able to unpack all of that right now. But what I would like to say is that ultimately sin is our biggest problem in life. What the Bible calls sin are the things that cause pain in our soul. And yet there is a victory. Death is not the end. It is a doorway to something better if we understand and we know and we've accepted the victory that Jesus Christ has for us. There is a victory that we can share in. For Jesus has overcome sin and he's overcome death by his resurrection from the dead. And therefore our pain can be taken away. Now, I would like to appeal to any of us here today who've not yet looked into or understood or accepted the victory that is available to you to do so. Reflect in yourselves. Let's reflect in ourselves today on some of that fire in our soul that's saying, I need a solution. I need a healing. I need some help. I need a victory over things that I cannot find myself. Find out more. If you don't yet know, talk to a friend and find out more about this great victory so that you need not be stung anymore. You need not have that painful fire in your spirit. There is hope. There is hope for all of us here, that the things that cause us the most pain can lead us to the place of victory and healing. Don't poke a wasp's nest with a set of loppers. That's my message to you today. Amen.